friends, my name is Olivia. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the ultimate summer reading list. I'm so excited that summer is finally here, or that it's acceptable to finally be reading and talking about summer books. I have a pretty big summer TBR myself, and I thought I would share it with you guys, but also you can kind of consider this as a recommendation video because I'm basically going to be talking about books in every single genre. I have 25 books that I physically own, so this does not include like new releases that are going to be coming out, but these are just books that have been on my shelf for the past few summers that I have determined to finally read. So I have 25 total. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. The first genre that probably has the most, of course, is going to be your summer romances or beach reads. I could have mentioned Emily Henry or someone super popular in this video, but I've already read all those. But the number one book that I wanted to read last year and finally bought this year because I was hearing such great things about it is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walker. Our main character, Meredith, unfortunately lost her sister, and there is a big giant family wedding at Martha's Vineyard. So there's a bunch of family that are getting together, but it's been really hard on Meredith, and I think she kind of goes through this process of grief in this book. So there is going to be a lot of harder topics in this book as well. Their whole family apparently plays this game called Assassin, and I'm so intrigued to see what that is. But if you love Taylor Swift, apparently there's also like lots of Taylor Swift quotes or vibes in this book, and it's just such a sweet summer story. And of course Meredith ends up possibly falling in love with a groomsman in the wedding, so I am so excited to see what this book holds. This is the perfect summer cover, and I think this author's also coming out with the second book to this, or maybe just their second book in general this summer. So I'm super happy that if I love this one, I can kind of explore this author a little bit more. But this one is top of the list. I absolutely have to read this year. The next book that I'm a little bit scared to read, but I do want to read because of these summer vibes, is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. While I didn't completely fall in love with Every Summer After, I feel like this definitely has the potential to just be a great fun summer read. Our main characters, Fern and Will, somehow meet up and become friends just for a day, but then they drift off to their own lives, and Fern ends up moving back to her small hometown to run a lakeside resort because I think her mother might possibly be passing away, and 10 years later Will suddenly comes back into her life. I guess it's all history from there, but the fact that this is at a lakeside resort sounds like it's going to be absolute perfection. Another author that has absolutely blown up this summer is Sarah Adams, and these two are at the top of my list to read from her. She started out as like a Kindle indie author, but ever since When in Rome or The Cheat Sheet, she has become a really well-known published romance author, and I adored When in Rome. It's only obvious that I would read more of her books, and these look perfect for summertime. This one I do know is the follow-up to When in Rome, and it follows one of the sisters. I don't want to go into any details about this one because it might spoil the first one a little bit, but if you guys have not read When in Rome and you just want like a feel-good happy book, absolutely pick that up. Make it a priority. It's so cute, it's so heartfelt, and I just absolutely fell in love with this author. So I would love to get to the second one in this series sooner rather than later. And the match is actually set in Charleston, which is perfect because I have been to Charleston in the summer. I live close to there, and I can just feel the vibes already of the historical town and the beachfront, and this is just gonna be absolutely perfect. But our main character runs a dog assistant service, and she comes across this single dad whose daughter has special needs, and her job is to make a match with the daughter for one of the dogs. It just sounds like it's gonna be so cute and absolutely melt my heart from page one, so I'm very excited to get to this backlist of hers. The next book that I recently just found out about, but it sounds so cute. There's so many things in it that I love in my perfect romance. That is Wait For It by Jen McKinley. This is about a single girl who just got divorced. She's a graphic designer, and I think for work she is supposed to go to the Valley of the Sun, which I think is in Arizona, and she's renting out this house, but the anonymous person that owns it is writing her like these cranky handwritten notes, and little to find out, he is actually very young, very cute, but he's also in a wheelchair. And so they make this connection, and it just sounds so good. I don't think I've ever read a book with that representation specifically in it before, so I think it's just a really unique spin or twist on your typical kind of romance love story, and there's handwritten notes. Like, you already have me sold. So I'm really excited to see if maybe this will be another new favorite romance author. The next book that I also saw around a lot last year is The Royals Next Door by Karina Hale or Hallie. This sounds so good, but just so different. It doesn't sound like your typical romance, and all I know is that there's this girl who finds out that a prince and a princess move next door to her. So I'm just gonna read the back so you guys can get a little bit more of an idea of what this one is about. Piper Evans, elementary school teacher by day, avid romance reader, and anonymous podcaster by night. She has a quiet, reclusive life taking care of her mother, who lives with mental illness, avoiding her regrettable ex, who bartends in town, and trying to make inroads in the tight-knit island community that still sees her 5 years in as an outsider. And she's happy with how things are until British royals rent the property next to hers, and their brooding bodyguard decides she's a security threat. But when Piper finds herself smack in the middle of a royal scandal that rocks the island, she'll need more than Harrison's strong arms to shield her. She'll have to do a little rescuing herself. This sounds like it talks about careers, mental illness, you have friendships as well. So this sounds like it's just gonna be a really great bind up to a romance, which is what I love. And it sounds like there's gonna be a lot of good themes in this one. And the cover is absolutely perfect for summer, so I cannot wait to dive into this one. Next, I have one by an author I've actually been wanting to try out for a while now. That is Last Summer at the Golden Hotel by Alyssa Friedland. I haven't read anything by her before, but I heard she writes a little bit more contemporary versus solely romance. This one is about a family reunion in the Catskills, brings hilarity and nostalgia when two clans convene for the summer at their beloved getaway. I guess there's like a financial scandal of some sort, and these two families are fighting for this hotel or the property. So it sounds like it's gonna be really funny and just a really great time. I'm also seeing like some notes back and forth. There are multiple points of view, so hopefully that means it's going to make for a really quick, fun poolside read. The next book that was also high on my list last year because I kept seeing it all over Bookstagram is The Beach Trap by Allie Brady. This sounds like The Parent Trap but on the beach, which sounds so nostalgic. When 12-year-olds Kat Steiner and Blake O'Neill meet at Camp Chickasaw, they have an instant connection, but everything falls apart when they learn they're not just best friends, they're also half-sisters. Confused and betrayed, the girls break off all contact. 15 years later, when their father dies suddenly, Kat and Blake discover he's left them a joint inheritance, the family beach house in Destin, Florida. The two sisters are immediately at odds. Blake, who has recently been demoted from regular nanny to dog nanny, wants to sell the house, while social media influencer Kat is desperate to hold on to the place where she lived so many memories. So these two half-sisters decide to renovate this house, and it sounds like maybe their connection will actually be really good in the end. This sounds like a really good contemporary summer read, not necessarily romance, but obviously if you're into The Parent Trap, this sounds like it's going to be the perfect book for you. Diving now into the mystery thriller genre, starting with Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. This is definitely more horror than thriller, but it sounds incredible. 7 years ago, the Atargatis set off on a voyage to the Marianas Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legend. It was lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax, but others have called it a tragedy. Now a new crew has been assembled. Some seek to validate their life's work, some seek the greatest hunt of all, and some seek the truth. But for the ambitious young scientist scientist Victoria Stewart, this is a voyage to uncover the fate of the sister she lost. Whatever the truth may be, it will only be found below the waves. I love that there's a search for a lost sister, a mockumentary. I know this is a little bit more sci-fi, and there's killer mermaids. What more could you want? If I'm in the mood for something dark or something really suspenseful and something that's really gonna be like claustrophobic and have deep water and just be a completely different vibe from like the rest of the cute romances. The next summer thriller on my list is The Night Swim by Megan Golden. I got an arc of this before it even came out, and I still have not read it yet, but I have read Stay Awake, and that was a pretty solid thriller. I really did like the direction it was taking at first, but I don't think it was my favorite thriller of all time, so I am going to give her another chance. And this one I'm hoping takes place during the summer. It doesn't really say on the back. I just know that there's a podcast that's run by a crime reporter, and there is a young woman 20 years ago that was assaulted and found dead, and then today in the same town there's another woman that's brutally attacked, and there's like this town's golden boy that's accused. So it sounds like your typical mystery thriller, but I'm really curious to know why people love this one so much. So this summer is going to be the summer that I finally find out. I'm also really excited to read another Lisa Jewell. This one is The Night She Disappeared, and this looks super summery. It is at the bottom of a pool, and there's just a ring floating in the water. It's a beautiful summer night in a charming English suburban when Tallulah and Zach head out to a bar for the first time since the birth of their infant son. Just 19 years old, they've been looking forward to this night and a break from bottles and diapers. A party at the massive country estate of a new college friend seems like the perfect way to unwind, until morning comes and the two don't make it home. This sounds like it's going to be another great domestic thriller that just has a web of a bunch of people that somehow have a story that relate to each other, but Lisa Jewell always does a great job of keeping you guessing up until the end. I obviously think this is a great choice because it takes place during summer. It's also in England, and yeah, I'm a fan of Lisa Jewell, so I'm excited to finally get to this one. Next, I have The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. This is another thriller author that I've never read anything from before, but this takes place in the Outer Banks, which is close to me, but also the perfect summertime vibe. 7 hours in the past, 7 days in the present, 7 survivors remaining. Who would you save? In this story, a decade ago, 2 vans are filled with high school seniors on a school service trip, and a tragedy happens that kills multiple classmates and teachers. There are 9 students that I guess manage to escape, and I guess the rest of the survivors end up coming together at this beach house for some reason to keep each other accountable for something. So I don't know what's gonna happen in this book. It sounds very suspenseful, and I know a lot of people love Megan Miranda, so I'm really excited to get to this one. I'm currently reading The Chateau by Jacqueline Goldis. Never read anything by this author before, so I've been super excited about it, but it takes place in France where this elderly lady owns this big estate, and there are 4 other girls. One is the granddaughter who came over to France in their high school years, I think to do something that had to do with travel abroad, and they became really close. They're still fairly decent friends, but they get this invitation from Seraphine, who owns the estate, that she wants them all to come visit, and they all think it's very weird and kind of odd. You can definitely tell there is more going on behind the story than you realize. There's multiple points of view already, and it is giving me kind of Pretty Little Liars vibes, but in France. So if you're into that, or if that's your vibe, I would definitely consider checking this one out. I'm already super loving the atmosphere of this one. It just talks about the water and people having picnics and wineries during the summertime, so it definitely has that perfect summer feel to it. Another summer read that is a pretty big backlist from 2015, but I have seen this author around quite a bit over the years. That is Kate Morton, and I have The Lake House, which sounds like the perfect summer vibe, but there also sounds like great family dynamics, and there's a mystery, so I'm just gonna read you the back. On a summer evening in 1933, Eleanor and Anthony's beautiful home in Cornwall has been opened for a grand party, but while fireworks bring the night to its finale, they discover that their 11-month-old son Theo has vanished from his crib. Despite a long and thorough investigation, no trace is found, and Eleanor and Anthony close up the house and move to London with their daughters, never to return. 7 years later, their daughter Alice has become a famous author of best-selling mystery novels. She has her own ideas about what happened that summer long ago, but when she receives a letter from a young detective inquiring about the unsolved case, Alice is drawn back into the past and to the truths locked away in the lake house. This is also a dual timeline mystery, which is my favorite thing, and I've heard really great things about Kate Morton. This is a little bit bigger of a book. It's 480 pages, but I really want to give this a try because, again, it's been sitting on my shelf for a million years at this point, so this is going to be the summer that I finally give it a go. The next two books are some summer fantasy that I'm hoping to squeeze into my TBR. I feel like during the summertime I'm not necessarily super intrigued by fantasy, but these two I feel like are definitely going to fulfill my need if I'm feeling the urge to pick one up. The next summer fantasy I have is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. This just sounds like it's going to be the perfect atmospheric fantasy that obviously has water involved. Deadly storms have ravaged Mina's homeland for generations. Her people believe the sea god, once their protector, now curses them. Each year, a beautiful maiden is sacrificed to the sea in the hopes of appeasing him. Many believe that Shim Cheong, the most beautiful girl in the village, and the beloved of Mina's older brother June, may be the one to finally end the suffering. But on the night Cheong is to be sacrificed, June follows her out to sea, knowing that to interfere is a death sentence. To save her brother, Mina throws herself into the water in Cheong's stead. So apparently she's swept away to the sea god and the spirit realm. This just sounds like a beautiful fantasy story that's going to have a lot of Asian culture weaved into it, which is my perfect type of fantasy. The next book I have is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. I have been meaning to pick this up once again for ages because I know there's pirates in it. There's also some type of princess or island princess. It just says, I am the right choice, the only choice, and I will protect my kingdom. There's probably a little bit of a romance subplot to this, but I've heard people that love Pirates of the Caribbean have also recommended this one, so I will definitely be checking it out because I love that movie franchise. Next, we're going to be diving into some cozy mysteries because you guys know I love a good cozy mystery, and this is the first summer that I've actually been into this genre, so it's been fun to kind of find and browse for some summer ones. The first one I have is Live and Let Chai by Bree Baker. Don't know anything about this, I just know it takes place at a seaside cafe, and I think it's a pretty big series at this point. I own 3 of the other books. The murder in this one is a customer of this seaside cafe. He apparently turns up dead on the boardwalk, so full of summer vibes there. I also have Death at High Tide, an Island Sisters mystery. This one sounds incredible. It says, when Evie Mead's husband Robert suddenly drops dead of a heart attack, a mysterious note is found among his possessions. It indicates that Evie may own the rights to a crumbling Art Deco hotel on Tregarrick Rock, one of the Isles of Scilly off the coast of Cornwall. Still grieving, Evie's inclined to leave the matter to the accountant to sort out. Her sister Margot, however, flown in from LA, has other plans. Envisioning a luxurious weekend getaway, she goes ahead and buys 2 tickets to Tregarrick. Once at the hotel, used in its heyday to house detective novelists and more fixer-upper than spa resort after all, Evie and Margot attempt to get to the bottom of things, but the foul-tempered hotel owner claims he's never met the late Robert, and the rest of the island inhabitants, ranging from an ex-con receptionist to a vicar who communicates with cats, aren't any easier to read. And then of course a murder takes place at the hotel, but you had me at cats and sister dynamic and island. Like, this is just going to be perfect and so vibey and atmospheric. I literally cannot wait to get to this series. The next book I have, which is actually a fairly big series, is Beaches, Bungalows, and Burglaries. I did not realize when I picked this one up, I guess there's like 30 in the series, but it's very short. It's less than 200 pages, so it's great for a readathon, but the back sounds absolutely hilarious. Mae West, a far cry from the Hollywood actress, has been thrown for a loop. Her plush lifestyle in the big city of New York comes to a screeching halt after the FBI raids her mansion and arrests her husband for a Ponzi scheme that rips people out of millions of dollars. May finds herself homeless, friendless, and penniless. The only thing May got to keep that the government didn't seize is a tourist campground, happy trails in Normal, Kentucky, and an RV to live in. Apparently, her husband shows up dead in the lake or the river, the body of water near this RV camp, which sounds insane and so crazy. I think this is just going to be a very, very, very fast-paced, cozy mystery, and I'm so here for that. And last but not least, I have Smile Beach Murder by Alicia Bissett. This one is an Outer Banks bookshop mystery. Hello, once again, Outer Banks, the perfect vibe for me. A former reporter turned bookshop clerk in the Outer Banks who was pulled into a deadly web of secrets when a mysterious fall at a lighthouse echoes a tragedy from her past. I know there's 2 books out at this point. I think the 3rd one may even come out this summer, but I love this cover, and I think there's even like a cat in here as well, but it sounds like the perfect summer vibe. I'm going to say that for each and every one of these books, but this one for sure is top priority for me. The next 2 books are middle grade books. One I started last year, don't know why I never finished it, but the other one is called Some Kind of Happiness by Claire Legrand. Let me just read you the back of this because it sounds like the perfect magical, foresty, kind of summer nostalgic feel. Things Finley Harr doesn't want to talk about. Her parents who are having problems, but they pretend like they're not, being sent to her grandparents' house for the summer, never having met said grandparents, her blue days when life feels overwhelming and it's hard to keep her head up. This happens a lot. Finley's only retreat is the Everwood, a forest kingdom that exists in the pages of her notebook, until she discovers the endless forest behind her grandparents' house and realizes the Everwood is real and it's in trouble. This sounds like it's gonna have such great mental health representation and even kids who are going through possibly a divorce with their parents. If I'm in the mood for just a light, fluffy middle grade to fly through in maybe one sitting or a couple days, I think this is going to be the perfect summer one to pick up. And then I also have The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise, which has the perfect summer cover. This is the one that I started last year and only got about 30 pages in. It's about this girl named Coyote whose mother unfortunately passes away, and her dad is really struggling with that, so they actually live in a school bus and they travel around, and her dad just doesn't want to settle in one place. His heart is just really hurting, and so it kind of goes through the grief in her family, and she makes friends along the way. And when I started this book, it took place at a gas station when they're getting gas, and it's just so hot. The sun is coming down on them, and I think a little boy even possibly buys her a popsicle, but for whatever reason this book has stuck out in my memory so vividly that it's going to be perfect for summer. So this is finally the summer that I pick it up because I know this is going to be a 5-star read. And last but not least, I have a couple graphic novels that I think would be perfect for this time of year. The first one is the Surfside Girls Mysteries. This one, the first one I read last year, called The Secret of Danger Point, was so incredible and so beautiful. I mean, look at the illustration style. It's like this nice pastel color palette, and I love just the art style of the faces in general. But if you love just a good time with a graphic novel that's summery, this is middle grade, so these 2 girls have like crushes on boys, but it's full of summer foods and a mystery, and it's just like this small, quaint coastal town, so it's such a good vibe for this time of year. And I really wish she would come out with more, but I think there's only 2 at this point. But I'm really excited to dive back into the world and look at her on her cute little bike. Oh, this is just gonna be such a fun time. Last but not least, I have the first volume in 5 Worlds, The Sand Warrior, which gives me the perfect summer feel with the blues and just the yellows and the greens in this cover. But essentially this feels like Marvel but middle grade, and the art style is super fun. It looks a little bit more fantasy because these kids have their own superpowers, but they have to come together to save this magical world, I guess. There's like this devastating attack that's coming, so it sounds like it's going to be a really fun time. I'm here for it, and there is multiple volumes if I want to continue. Alright friends, well that is all of the summer books that I have on my list, which feels like a lot when I talk through all of them, but we do have 3 full months to get through these, so I'm super excited to hopefully find some new 5-star reads this summer with some of these books. If you guys have read them before, definitely let me know which ones I should bump up on my priority list, and definitely let me know if you are planning to read any of these this summer as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I love you so much, and I will see you in my next video.